welcome to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. I'm your host, Louis Padian. I hope that you're doing well and are enjoying the podcast and the topics we've covered so far. These podcasts are released every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening to be kept up to date. Today, I wanted to cover the reason why my opinion and stance really around weight loss has changed over the years so much. And people often might remember me back when I was weight loss with Louis, and I still believe that weight loss is a fantastic goal and something that can benefit a lot of people. However, there is a lot of nuance with everything, and as you've probably gathered by listening to a lot of these episodes, there's often a lot of nuance with things. It's not usually black or white. There's a huge amount of grey in between, and something that actually I've been just doing a lot of research on with a future episode around misinformation. So the grey is not the sexy stuff, and often it's not as easy to get across or sell because there's points to consider. And this is true with weight loss as well, that not all weight loss is equal, healthy or better for people, and it's very much context dependent, goal dependent, and down to the individual. So first of all, let's have a look at the side of benefits of weight loss. We know that obesity and being overweight is a massive issue worldwide, and weight loss can hugely benefit from that. Usually the goal that we aim for people is around between 5 and 10% of their body weight if they're overweight or obese, because that has lots of health benefits. Within that first 5 to 10% especially, that's where they get the majority of health benefits. Obviously, how we do that is really important, but the weight loss itself is actually really beneficial. It can help with reducing things like developing type 2 diabetes, or the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, risk of heart disease, stroke, some cancers, and that's what it's about, reducing the risk. I remember when I sat down with my weight management groups in the past, we look at all the health conditions that are associated with obesity, and there's a huge list of them. And I would sit down and go, well, the whole point of this group is to say, we're not going to say that if you make all these positive changes that we're aiming to do and you lose some weight, that these conditions, you won't get these conditions, because unfortunately we can't control that. However, we can try our best to reduce the risk in them. And I think that's the main thing that we want to get across, that it's about that risk factor. And by certain behaviours, habits, and our weight and our BMI are linked with an increased risk of developing things like type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, heart disease, having strokes. And if we can mitigate that by reducing our weight, then it seems like a pretty sensible decision to make. Beyond that, people having improved mobility, better joint health. Again, that extra weight can put extra stress on our joints. Things like knees, hips, ankles. People who carry more weight, who are in that overweight or obese category, tend to have more of those common problems. And just by reducing that weight, again, just helps us take the pressure off those joints that are probably under a lot of stress and strain day to day, those repetitive issues, and potentially reducing the risk of things like arthritis, osteoarthritis within those joints as well. Another one that I've done a whole heap of episodes on, and you might not put two and two together, but reducing weight improves your sleep quality in the vast majority of people. By people who carry more weight, you can develop things like sleep apnea, and as I've listed whole heaps of benefits by improving sleep in previous episodes, sleep is a foundation sort of health and well-being. If your sleep's not in a good position, trying to diet, trying to move more each day, trying to manage your emotions, trying to have better social relationships, trying to have better work performance or exercise, all becomes so much harder. And us managing weight can help improving that sleep, and it's a really difficult cycle to be in. And so many patients that I've sat down and worked with, it's hard because if your sleep's knackered, you're overweight, you're not moving very much, increasing your energy expenditure is going to make you more tired. And if you're not recovering on that sleep, then you're just going to feel more tired moving forward. And we're trying to break that cycle. And if you don't do anything about it, then you're reducing your energy output by potentially not moving as much because you're tired. You're probably going to eat more because your appetite's increased anyway, but also you're probably feeling a bit down. You might emotionally and overeat more often, and that's going to increase weight and make that problem worse. So it's a really hard thing to get to the bottom of, but it's so worthwhile focusing on. If we can get someone's weight down because their sleep quality is really poor, if we can get their weight down, it can reduce the risk of things like sleep apnea. And sleep apnea, I should say, and allow people to feel more rested, manage their appetite a bit better, and it just really gains momentum on their weight loss journey. It makes things a lot easier. Last but not least, definitely, is people feel more confident and have better self-esteem. So having a better relationship with your body, being more confident in yourself day to day can improve your overall well-being. And we're not going to say that you should put a huge amount of value on your body. Actually, there's so much more value to you as a person than what you weigh and how you look. But people always place some value on that. And I'm not naive to think that we can get to a position where nobody values anything the way they look and don't judge their bodies. We're trying to get a better place with that, definitely. But weight loss can improve people's confidence. They feel more self-assured in themselves. And we try to do that in a sustainable way. I do that at the same time as building that better relationship with our body. But again, like I said, managing people's weight who are overweight, who are obese, trying to build their confidence in themselves whilst losing weight actually has that dual effect of them managing their weight a bit better, obviously enjoying those physical changes, but us also removing that value away from it as well. So they're all the positive things that can come from weight loss. However, when we have a look at unhealthy weight loss, there's a few things that we really need to cover. And this is why the narrative around complimenting people on their weight loss is so popular at the moment, that we shouldn't compliment people on weight loss. And I'm not fully decided on this, so don't expect you to be fully decided on this, because I feel like we should be, in some aspects, people enjoy being complimented, but we need to know that individual, have a good relationship with that individual, know that their weight loss is happening in a healthy, sustainable way, coming from a positive aspect. If I've got a patient there who's type 2 diabetic, overweight and obese, and they're losing weight, and I know that's going to probably have a benefit on their managing their blood glucose levels, it's going to reduce their knee and back pain potentially, reduce their strain on sort of medication or their need for medication. It would be wrong for me as a coach to ignore that. And yes, I'm going to compliment them on their effort, but also I feel like we should be encouraging that weight loss because we know it's going to have a positive outcome. So that's where I sit on that. But if people are doing crash diets, excessive calorie restriction, sort of fads, looking for that 9-day or 12-day detox, I don't know what even the fads are now, but trying to shortcut that weight loss and find a cheat code to it, again, that's not the best way to go about it. In the short and long term, in the short, you're probably going to have a really awful short, week or two, if you're doing like a detox or a cleanse or whatever, all those useless things, because it's just about suffering. It's about restriction. It's about relying on a lot of willpower and manipulating a lot of water weight, not necessarily losing a lot of body fat. It's not developing any healthy habits, sustainable habits long term. So people restrict, restrain, suffer for that short amount of time, and then they get to the end point, they might have lost 5-6 kilos on the scales. Not much of that will be body fat, maybe quarter, maybe at best half, if not even that, will be fat loss. However, are they going to do that continuously moving forward? Probably not. What they're going to do, they're probably going to revert back to their old ways. They're probably restricted and restrained so much that they are craving a big meal. So they're probably dreaming about it, quote unquote, a cheat day. And when they step back on the scales, a day or so later, they'll have gained a lot of that water weight back. They'll have a lot more food in their system, and the scale weight will have gone back up. Again, just building that binge restrict cycle that we don't want. Same with yo-yo dieting. Again, that restrictive, unsustainable plans often lead to that dreaded yo-yo diet cycle. People having that rapid weight loss, regain over time, beat themselves up for regaining, potentially going higher than they were, then feeling like, I just need to be harder on myself, so I need to restrict and restrain. Starting that cycle again, restricting, restraining for as long as they can last for, suffer for, and then getting to a point, not really learning anything on the way, reverting back to all the weights, regaining weight, maybe a little bit more, and just starting the cycle again. Again, not things that we want to encourage. So whilst weight loss can benefit, like I said in previous examples, lots of health outcomes, the way it's done is really important, and we want to ensure that people are doing it in a healthy way, and that's that balanced approach to things that we want. It's also worth considering around health conditions as well. So this is why we need to be very aware of complimenting people on their weight loss. If people have certain issues with, or underlying issues that they might not even be aware of, but might be aware of, they might have thyroid issues. So again, can impact the body's metabolism, cause unexpected weight loss or weight gain. People who have unmanaged diabetes might have unintentional weight loss, and that can really be impacted and can be deadly in some cases. People don't manage that, especially if they're type 1 diabetic, don't manage their blood glucose very well. It can kill them. So it's being very aware of not encouraging unhealthy habits and behaviors if people are chasing weight loss in healthy ways. Certain conditions like celiac disease can cause the body to fluctuate in weight massively and potentially cause people to lose weight quite rapidly. People's mental health as well, so they may be suffering things like depression. Again, not eating, they might be grieving. Not eating lead to unintentional weight loss as well, and if we're encouraging that, then that's not a great thing to be doing. And as always, if you or know someone who's experienced unintended weight loss, please catch up, book an appointment with your GP, have a chat with them, see if there's any underlying issues if you're worried about that, because it's definitely worth getting on top of, because it can be quite serious. We know whilst obesity is a real issue, and we'll probably delve into this on one of the future episodes around BMI, yes, it's a big issue, people having a high BMI, going into that overweight obese category. However, whilst there are lots of health implications of that, health implications for being underweight, for potentially having eating disorders and things like that, the risks of that are so much more than having a slightly higher weight, and so much more short term. So people can deteriorate very quickly, and within a couple of months they can be in a really bad place. Whilst if someone's gaining weight slowly over a couple of years, we know that the problem's going to be a lot further down the line potentially. So that's why we really look at the BMI, and like I said, future episodes will go into it, but being underweight is actually much more of a worry than being overweight. Neither is good, bad. There are certain risks associated, but usually underweight is something that would be a lot more concerned with. So when we are looking at weight loss, like I said, we need to know the individual. Try not to put so much focus on people's appearance, but if you know someone who is type 2 diabetic and they're looking to manage their weight because they know they'll help with their managing their blood glucose, and they're making positive change with their diet, yes, we can always say, like, well done on your weight loss if they've told you about it. But we need to know that what they're doing as well. We need to ensure that we're encouraging healthy habits. So one thing, a way around that, if you're not feeling comfortable, compliment effort. Acknowledge someone's putting in hard work. If you've seen them going to the gym, if you know that they're making effort with their food, like, good work on the effort, or I've seen you've been doing this, that's great. Again, there's sort of caveats to that. If someone's going to the gym and they're going excessively and they've got a low BMI, they may have a really poor relationship with exercise, or they maybe even at normal BMI or high BMI, they might have a poor relationship with exercise. And if we're going, oh, that's great that you've been to the gym, and they're going every day for like 2-3 hours, then maybe that's something that we shouldn't be complimenting on, because that's probably not healthy in the long term. So again, there's always caveats to these things. Next up, highlighting positive change in people. So if you've seen positive changes in people, that their mood's better, they're more energetic, they look brighter, all these things, just complimenting on that, oh, you seem a lot happier recently, so that's amazing. What have you been doing to do that? And just, again, looking at the outcome, the process on it and the outcome, rather than just going, right, what's your weight? Because again, it's another conversation instead of just focusing on weight all the time. Next up, very similarly, focusing on well-being, shift the conversation towards how their overall well-being is, and ask the question, how are you feeling? How are you feeling overall? And maybe offering some support and asking if there's any way that you can support them in their health goals. So this is one of the conversations often encouraged with patients and clients, is that if they know other people are trying to manage their weight, eat a bit better, move a little bit more, instead of assuming how they can help and going, well, I just won't offer them anything, or maybe I'll tell them that I'm going for a walk and they should come with me. Ask the individual what they want, because people like to be supported in very different ways. And often, as a coach, one of the shifts that's happened in coaching in the last couple of years, instead of me being the expert, it's understanding that the person in front of me is the expert in their lives, and I'm there just to help facilitate the answers, which is definitely the case. So I'll often sit down with the patient and go, right, what do you think the problem is? They might identify what the problem is. It doesn't matter what I think. And I go, okay, so potentially what are some ways that we can find a way around it? They might suggest a few different ways. We might go, well, what do you think is the best option moving forward? Whether I think out of the 3 options, potentially that's the best or not, supporting them and going, right, so what do you think it is? They suggest it's option A. Brill, you know what, we'll give that a go. And what do you need from me? And they might say, I don't need anything. They might say, can we just have a catch up next week? They might say, can you send me some resources to help with that? instead of me just going, I can send you stuff, we'll catch up next week. Getting them to come up with the ideas, it's actually going to increase their buy-in because they've came up with it. They think it's a good idea, but also ensures that I'm not coming up with the ideas all the time. They're not just seeing me as the idea person, because we all know it's like when you're not asking for advice and someone gives you advice, you don't really take it on board very well. However, if someone sits down and goes, right, I can see this going on, you've got this, what do you want from me? Often they'll be quite honest and say in any way that they can help, or that they feel that they need help from you, and they're going to be accepting of that help, and they're more likely to take it on board moving forward. So there's some really good ways to support people, to compliment people around their effort, around changes that you see in them, focusing on the well-being aspect, focusing on healthy habits and what you can do to support them, rather than just focusing on weight. Like I've said, weight loss is a really tricky area at the moment. There's lots of different movements. You have to be quite aware of what's going on, and that awareness is really good, but it comes with a lot of thought and a lot of contemplation from both sides. So, like I said, we know weight loss can be really beneficial for a lot of people. I'm hugely supportive of people managing their weight a little bit better, getting into a healthier BMI, not necessarily a perfectly healthy BMI, because that's not going to be attainable for a lot of people. But we know that moving that in a certain way for a lot of people, from overweight and obese down to a healthier BMI, has lots of health benefits for them. But we also need to be aware of the way that people are doing that is really important. Also, if it's sudden and it's rapid and it's unintentional, then there may be some cause for concern, and going seeking out a health professional to check that out is definitely worthwhile. But then also, if you know someone is losing weight, complimenting on their effort is really a good way to go about it, highlighting positive change in them. Like I said, if you're radiant at the moment, you've got more energy, you seem really happy at the moment. And then last of all, focusing on the well-being aspect, shifting the conversation overall to well-being, asking people how they are, and then also if there's any way that you can support them in their goals if they're trying to get healthier. So hopefully that's giving you a bit more of a well-rounded approach to the weight conversation, how to speak to people who potentially are on a health journey, but also some of the caveats around that can be a bit tricky to navigate, and now hopefully you've got some tools to do so. So there you have it. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. If you have any questions, queries, or would like to reach out to me, please do. I am at Louis Padian Nutrition, which is at LOUISPADIAN Nutrition on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all other social media platforms. If you're looking for support in achieving your goals and living a healthier, happier, and more balanced life in the process, click the link below and inquire about working with me. Remember to subscribe to the Balanced Approach podcast wherever you're listening for more insightful episodes, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.